Many funerals, ashes put to rest beneath the black dirt of our rose garden. There were eulogies, sighed half-whispered incantations that hoped, beyond childish hope, that God loved house pets too. There was somber attire, our daughter's coal black veil rummaged from the holiday box, the white delicate of catechism glove, countless popsicle stick crucifixes in satin-lined shoeboxes. There were the ghosts of dead goldfish, lost turtles, the dwarf hamster that died overheated atop the dryer, that shameful bullet-riddled pigeon we found near the dumpster. But it was the family dog that we put down that splintered our little girl, stripped something raw from her, like easy bark peeled from a too young sapling. That morning, when the cold broke open, air the color of grief, our spry little terrier devoured by the tug of tire. It was not the dead that our daughter cried for, no. I want you to know that she cried for the living. She mourned it like a mercy killing. After the euthanasia, long after the small loan from my mother to pay for the cremation, months removed from the screech of tire, rubber, collapsed vertebrae, dead dog, funeral, absentee father, the days we played witness to the blood spectacle of our divorce, the litany of dead things ballooned. Her pillow hot with the disappointment in the living, the breathing bodies that taught her more about fatalism than any young girl should know. Death only did what death does. It was the atrophy of the living, pumping red heart of her mother and the failure of her father that edged her into the golden and bitter truth that death, that merciful scythe, is oftentimes the true blessing, and living is the awkward phase we all grow into, that the deceased sometimes go limping along for years.